Okay, you're listening to the DVDfever Show, and that was Horse with You Could Be Forgiven. And now we're going to look at the last review of the week is Dredd in 3D, which is out on Blu-ray now as well as 2D DVD. Now, when Dredd was first announced as being in production, the first question was, "Isn't there a Judge Dredd film already?" Well, the second one was, "But wasn't it a bit shit?" Well, yes to both. 1995's Judge Dredd was more of a comedy, while purists moaned about the fact that Stallone took off his helmet, something Carl Urban doesn't do here. My biggest moan about that film was the presence of Rob Schneider, who turned it into a farce and was about as welcome as Jar Jar Binks in a Star Wars film. So the attempt was to make a more authentic Judge Dredd film. Bear in mind I'm not a reader of comics of any description, so I'll have to leave that to the filmmakers, but I can see they were looking to make it a more serious movie, but did it make for a more entertaining one? Well, the judge that everyone knows best in Mega City 1 is called to a shopping mall called Peach Trees, which is home to residents occupying the 200 floors within. At the same time, Dredd, Urban, has to break in a new rookie, Anderson, Olivia Thirlby, who refuses to wear a helmet for reasons which will become clear during the proceedings, although it's not a tactic I would recommend when there are bullets flying around like there's no tomorrow, and there really will be no tomorrow for a lot of the inhabitants when all hell kicks off. They're called because three men have been skinned and tossed over a balcony to land slap bang in the middle of the mall, and quite frankly it shows a poor design within, because anyone could have chucked anything over the side in the past, and it would have killed those below if it had hit them. But anyway, the baddie at the centre of it all is Mama, Lena Headey, who is cornering the market in the latest illegal drug, the slow-mo inhaler, which makes life feel like it's passing by at 1% of the normal speed, rather like the way that cake can stimulate your Shatner's bassoon. We're told that Mama is a major badass because she feminised a guy with her teeth, and she exerts her authority and takes control of them all by trapping the judges inside Peach Trees, meaning they're up against anyone who wants to take them down. Yes, it's basically the plot of the raid, and it's nowhere near as good. It barely counts as action because it's so sparse in anything approaching that genre, and it doesn't even border on sci-fi once it gets inside the shopping mall, because it could be cops in general going after the bad guys, albeit with everyone having better firepower. It also lends itself to Free Jack with an inside the mine sequence, albeit one which isn't much cop compared to the 21-year-old film. And to kick it while it's down, the occasional comedic lines fall flat. When it comes to the actors, Carl Urban is charmless, Olivia Thirlby doesn't exactly pull out all the stops, Lena Headey mostly sleepwalks through a role. The only other actor who stays around longer than most is Wood Harris as Kay, arrested by Dredd after Anderson fingers him for having sent the three drug addicts on an impromptu flying lesson. I've also seen much better use of 3D, as it doesn't feel like it's being used nearly as often as it should be. In fact, it feels more like a 2D film with occasional 3D scenes, some of which are very good and most of which are so-so. The former come best in slow motion for a handful of scenes, including the one described in the previously. And for anyone who's mistaking my reasons, well, I can see it was definitely made in 3D rather than being added in post-production, but my bugbear with that it just wasn't used well at all. There are a handful of great 3D scenes, yes, but most of the time, while I could tell there was some element of 3D on screen, it looked no different to how the eye would perceive depth anyway. Sound-wise, there's lots of splits around sound effects, which are worth a listen. So overall, this is a very poor film, and even worse than Stallone's effort, although that wasn't much better. However, on the plus side, at least Rob Schneider isn't in it. Note, by the way, that there's only a single Blu-ray disc release for this one, which contains both 3D and 2D versions, because normally you get like a separate 3D Blu-ray one. So for this, I'm just giving it 3 out of 10. Okay, thanks to everyone who listened today and throughout the week, and come back next week for more from the DVDfever Show. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel to get notified when a new show is uploaded. Until next week, I'm going to play out with one more song, and it's the return for David Bowie with Where Are We Now?